Now let us try to understand and appreciate this poem stanza-wise. Far, far from gusty waves, these children faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. The first stanza contains vivid descriptions of slum children. They are away, far, far away, metaphorically from the mainstream of life, freedom, adventure, and bold future. The gusty waves. And how they are? Like rootless weeds, insecure, unwanted, neglected, caught in the backwaters of life, unlike the children from the privileged class who are vibrant and exuberant. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky here of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. Now, the poet starts describing these children specifically. The joyless, pale children. The tall girl seems hopeless, sick and tired, weighed down head by burden, by poverty, by hopelessness. Then the thin, hungry-looking boy who looks like a rat, the stunted, unlucky here of twisted bones, has inherited his father's disease, reciting repeated generations after generations. That is, he has inherited a genetic disorder and he is reciting his lessons from his desk. Then, at the back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. A sweet young lad sits in the dim class. It can be a metaphor for their bleak lives, distracted and dreams of escaping away from depressing environment. So, he presents a ray of hope, a spark of hope. Probably he has a dream in his eyes to break away from the slum surroundings one day. He is thinking of freedom from slums. Probably the boy has a spark of hope. Then the poet moves to the second stanza. In the second stanza, we find the depressing classroom. The poet moves on to describe the classroom. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities, belt flowers, Trolley's valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. The walls of the class are sour, cream in color, decaying, dull, neglected, and they project a dull, depressing environment where children feel despondent and their dreams turn sour. Although the walls are filled with so-called donations, which seem to taunt the children because they have no connection with the beautiful cloudless landscapes, the world of learning and creativity represented by Shakespeare, or the civilized dome of cities symbolizing culture and progress. So far removed from the squalor of their fog-covered slum. You can see the walls of the classroom, which are decorated with the Shakespeare's bust. Then there is a civilized dome, and there is a picture of Trolley's Valley. But these donations which are bestowed by the rich, they are meaningless for such children. Their world and the world that is shown in map is a contrast. Belled flowery Trolley's Valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. The picture showing the natural beauty of Trolley's Valley is unimaginable for children living on slag heaps of industrial slums. The map of the world seems to be generously complementing the outside world. The children, however, see the world through their windows, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. The map of the world seems to be complementing the outside world. The children, however, see the map through their window, their personal experience unclear, narrow, heavy, and oppressive. This is ironical. The repetition of the word, the phrase far, far, highlights that there is a wide gulf between the lives of some slum children who are confined to fog-covered lanes sealed in with lead sky, polluted, smog-covered sky, metaphoric, which does not open up opportunities, instead weighs down, blocking escape from the slum, where all the futures painted with a fog. They have no hope for the future. The future is bleak. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from the river, capes, and sounds of the words. Now the poet adopts a very aggressive, angry tone. He takes certain liberties and he calls Shakespeare wicked. He considers the donations farce. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. The repetition we find in the third stanza, the poet questions the value of the donated pictures on the walls, which raise aspirations and hopes and ironically have a negative impact on these children. The children are now compared to rodents that live in cramped holes. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. Life for these children is a struggle for sustenance. From fog to endless night on their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. In desperation, these children are lured into crime to reach a world far beyond their own lives. And that is why the poet has called Shakespeare wicked and Map a bad example. And for these children, their world is from fog to endless night, a metaphor for their dismal prospects. Their immediate environment is slag heap in industrial cities, foggy slum. They are frail, delicate. They wear skins through which the bones jut out. Emaciated body, weak emaciated body. Their spectacles with Mendel glass distort their view of the world. Their life is as cheap and shattered like broken pieces of cheap glass. There is no gentleness or softness in their young eyes. Now, we find the poet deliberately evokes hard, sharp images here. Bones, steel, glass, bottle bits, stones, to conjure picture of hardships in their lives. The poet's tone reaches its highest point. He is angered by the situation and calls for a more truthful and realistic picture of the world. And we find that the poet, in his angry tone, goes to an extent of saying that blot their maps with slum as big as doom. Means, if the situation, if nothing is done to improve their situation, then one day the slums will outnumber and they will spread doom, destruction. This is a sort of a warning tone that the poet adopts. After all this pessimism, in the last stanza, the poet has a ray of hope, an optimistic tone. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. The final stanza, the last stanza, brings in hope. It's an appeal to the government, the concerned authorities, the so-called higher-ups, governors, inspectors, visitors, to change the lives of the children by becoming their map or their guide, and to make education meaningful and relevant to the slum children. They should help these children break out of the catacombs, burial chambers of industrial towns that have crippled their minds, bodies, and spirit. It is only when that these windows through which these slum children observe the world will be opened out to reveal the outside world in all its wondrous beauty. And break, oh break, till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world, exposing the slum children to the new world. What would be this new and outside world like? it would be in all its wondrous beauty. Education, enlightenment, knowledge run azure on gold sands and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open. Their tongues will metaphorically run naked into their books as they explore knowledge firsthand. They will enjoy full freedom and a golden future, run freely amidst nature, green fields, and run azure on golden sands, the world of opportunities. Taste, explore, experience knowledge from books and nature. And then history is theirs whose